For some reason, I didn't notice this before when we were sitting inside the car, but it has become really annoying. It's like this dashboard is squeaking as we go over bumps and stuff, so that is a little bit annoying. Look, as a six-seater, this is actually pretty cool. If you're a kid, this would be luxe, like luxe to the max, because you get your own seat, it reclines, you go forwards and backwards, you got heaps of knee room, toe room's great, headroom's really good as well. G'day, I'm Paul. We've been going through Mazda's new range of premium SUVs, the CX range, and 60, 70, 80, 90, and they are a little bit confusing. And today we're looking at the CX-80. And to me, it's confusing because they all kind of look the same, but have slight variances in terms of dimensions and seating capacity. So the CX-80 and the CX-60 are basically narrow body, sort of Japanese market versions of these premium Mazda products. And then you've got the 70 and the 90, which are the wide body American versions of the premium products. This particular one here is the Azami, so it's the top spec. It's also the plug-in hybrid, so P50E is the designation they give to it. This is a fairly eye-watering $87,000. It also has an optional $5,000 package that's fitted to it as well. So on the road, this is going to be like $100,000. That is a lot of money. So we'll see today whether it's worth that. Now, if that's all too expensive, the entire range kicks off as a petrol entry level at around $55,000. So there's a little bit of everything there for everyone. Now, if you do want to skip ahead to other parts of this review, we're going to do a detailed review of this today. Use the time codes on the screen, or if you're on YouTube, you could scroll down and use the chapters below. So in terms of design, optional colors, around $1,000. Quite like this Soul Red. It is a classic Mazda color, but they've integrated it really well with the styling highlights. This has the SP package that I mentioned earlier, so about $5,000. It's going to add black highlights, a tanned colored interior, a multi-tone steering wheel as well. It's quite a really nice looking interior that I'll run you through shortly. Piano black there on the grille. And then you've got this brushed chrome sort of color off to the sides there surrounding the grille. Full LED headlights with matrix LED functionality. And then around the side here, you've got a piano black set of alloy wheels there on 20-inch rims. So decent profile on the tyre as well. Body coloured wheel arches there. Off to the side here, it has a PHEV, which is plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. That's what that stands for. And they sort of integrate that off to the side, so everyone knows what you're driving. You've got indicators built into the wing mirror there, and then a camera off the side for the 360 camera. No privacy glass, despite this being the top spec model, but you do get these blinds that go up and down. Got a glass roof there as well with roof rails, and then round to the back with me. Around here, you've got full LED tail lights, Skyactiv FEV, so some more nomenclature there for you. CX-80 badge, all-wheel drive as well, brake light integrated up the top here too. So let me know what you reckon about the design. Are you sort of confused by this whole range? Probably not the end of the world, gives you more choice, but makes it a little harder when you go into the Mazda dealership to figure out exactly what you're after. So let me know in the comments section below, what do you reckon about the pricing? What do you reckon about the styling? And what do you reckon about that sort of Mazda range of new SUVs? So we're inside the CX-80. This is what the key looks like. You've got the Mazda logo, you've got lock, unlock, boot, nothing on the other side, and it's a proximity sensing key. So you leave that in your pocket, you've got a push button start just here. So I mentioned in our CX-70 review, getting my head around all these numbers, that I thought the interior looked a little bit plain without the optional package. So this one obviously has the optional SP package, and yes, it is $5,000, but yeah, this beautiful looking tan interior with Alcantara sort of all over the place. The two-tone steering wheel that's kind of been derived from Bentley. It just looks much nicer, in my opinion. So yeah, it is $5,000, but you know, if you value how premium the interior in your car feels, then it's probably worth doing. Outside of that, your touch points. So all of this stuff is pretty soft to the touch, soft on the doors as well. How soft is it? We've got our durometer. We've tested the main surfaces in this cabin. If you do want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before, have a look at the link in the description below. Now, build quality, what is it like? That all feels okay. All feels okay as well. And this is what our door slam sounds like. Now let's talk about infotainment. So you've got two 12.3-inch displays, one for infotainment and one for the sort of central display ahead of the driver. On the infotainment front, you drive it using these controls down here, and you know, for the most part it works fine. It's just a little bit fiddly sometimes, and it can just be, I don't know, just a little bit annoying to use. So what I mean by that, it's not a touchscreen. It is a touchscreen though if you have CarPlay launched. So it has wireless CarPlay, which is great. So it's a touchscreen then. But The problem is that it's a little too far away to reach anyway, so if you do need to grab anything in here, you kind of have to reach forward to grab it. So I just think the location of it could be improved a little bit, and the functionality within these menus could be improved a little bit as well. But outside of that, you're actually getting pretty decent graphics, and the fact that it has wireless smartphone mirroring is pretty good as well. And it's got a 12-speaker sound system as well. The sound system's great, so it's a Bose branded sound system, AM, FM, DAB, digital radio, so sort of all good on that front. So I showed you Apple CarPlay. I'll show you what Android Auto looks like. So again, full screen integration and touchscreen as well. So it's all good on that front. Now, screen ahead of the driver. Again, 12.3-inch display. Not a huge amount of configurability, but you can change the views depending on which mode you're in. Given this is a plug-in hybrid, you get a few additional context menus, such as whether you're charging the battery, whether you're using energy from the battery, or whether it's running in EV mode as well. So all sort of pretty decent functionality there. Now let's talk safety tech. So you've got autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection. You've got an auto dimming rear vision mirror. Blind spot monitoring built into your wing mirror. You've got radar cruise control with a lane centering function. Now we did actually test this in the CX-70. So when we get to that part in the video, we'll overlay that footage instead so you can see exactly how that works. On the parking front, you've got front and rear parking sensors and a 360 camera. I will show you what that looks like. So there it is there. Quality of that isn't too bad. That's our wide angle view. So that's not too bad at all, and then I'll pop it into reverse so you can see what that looks like. There you go, that's actually not too bad. So yeah, pretty decent there. And this is what the horn sounds like. Now moving on to practicality, and we'll start off with your connectivity. You've got 12-volt outlet down the bottom here with a wireless phone charger. In the center console, you've got two USB-C ports. In terms of storing your phone, you can kind of just whack it down there on that wireless phone charger, or cup holders can sort of hold a phone there as well. On other storage, you've got a little console here next to the driver's knee. This center console isn't really that deep, which I don't really understand. It's sort of a huge space, but then it's just not deep at all, so you can't really use that for too much. You've got decent sized glove box, and you've got a sunglasses holder up the top there as well. On the comfort front, you've got dual zone automatic climate control. You've got heated and cooled seats up the front here, heated steering wheel as well. So it's all sort of fairly well equipped. Steering offers adjustment for tilt and reach. It's all fully electric. And seats are both fully electric for the driver and front passenger, with the driver getting seat memory, so you can go forwards, backwards. Your backrest can go forwards and backwards. Lift the front of the seat. The back of the seat, you've got lumbar adjustment as well. And I mentioned before on the reach test, this stuff is just a little bit hard to reach on that side of the screen. Now, second row. One of the differences you get here with this SP package as well is that this becomes a 6-seater instead of a 7-seater. So if you're desperate for a 7-seater, you're not going to be able to option this package. Look, as a 6-seater, this is actually pretty cool. If you're a kid, this would be luxe, like luxe to the max, because you get your own seat, it reclines, you go forwards and backwards, you got heaps of knee room, toe room's great, headroom's really good as well, so pretty well equipped from that point of view. And then you've got this center console here as well with two cup holders. You've got really decent storage. Ironically, the storage here is better than it is up there. You've also got a storage bin down here as well, plus two USB-C outlets. Heated and cooled seats on the outboard seats. So this is actually like a luxury vehicle in the back here. It's pretty impressive from that point of view. These are the blinds that I mentioned earlier that go up and down. And then on our window test, does it go all the way down? Let's find out. So it's auto up and down. Oh, so close. Now, third row, can you fit adults in? So you slide it forward like that, and then you whack your knee. All right, so let's have a look. Now, just ignore legroom there for a second. I just want to see what it's like here. So headroom is actually pretty reasonable. Toe room is okay. Sort of not the greatest, but not the worst either. I've got two cup holders here, USB-C on either side. These also have top tether points as well, so you can stick your baby seats in here if you need to. Let's see how much legroom there is down. It's not terrible. So it does mean that you could actually fit somebody there and have an adult in the third row if you needed to. So pretty sort of happy with this amount of space. Now, cargo space. Let's have a little look here. Normally with these 3-row SUVs, it's not great. You know what? That's actually really not that bad. So it's just over 250 litres and usable space beneath the cargo floor as well. Unfortunately, there is no spare tyre. You get a tyre repair kit instead. I'll show you what it looks like with our suitcase in there. Will that close? This flies out of the way. Let's give that a shot. Okay, cool. That actually closes. So that is usable space that you could actually shove things into, which is pretty good. So that's with your third row in place. And actually, before I drop that, have a look at this. You've got not only a 12-volt outlet, but vehicle to load here with a 220-volt outlet. So it is actually a meaningful amount of power as well. Okay, so I'll drop the third row now. Look how much space we have there. So over 550 litres there as well. So again, meaningful space, nice load lip there so you can actually get stuff in. If you want to expand it even further, it is just stunted a little bit by the centre of that second row being sort of in the way. But I'll drop those so you can just see what it looks like. It is sort of flat, but you've got these holes here that you can't really avoid. That expands your space to almost 2,000 litres. So it's actually a decent boot and a decent usable space behind the third row, which is pretty important. Now, before we go for a spin, I want to run you through the battery and charging. So you've got AC charging only, no DC charging, up to around 7 kilowatts. So battery size is around 17 kilowatts. So about 3 hours to fully charge the battery, which isn't too bad. Fully charged battery will give you around 60 kilometres worth of driving range on any DC cycle. Okay, so we have just hit the road in the CX-80 plug-in hybrid. You know, plug-in hybrids are interesting. I kind of had the opinion originally that they weren't very good. They were kind of silly and complicated. But, you know, after spending time in a lot of these more modern plug-in hybrids, I'm changing my view a little bit. And that is because you're getting the best of both worlds. I can charge this at home where I have EV charging infrastructure, and I can go to work without using any sort of fuel. It's just using electricity. I can come home, plug it up again, or if I want to go on a longer trip, I just stick fuel in it. It's very straightforward. I will be interested to see down the track how these perform in terms of servicing and reliability. You're adding the complexity of a battery system, a charging system, an electric motor. So this is kind of the less complex way of doing it, the way Mazda does it, with a sort of sandwiched electric motor between the engine and the transmission, and then, you know, a battery pack with charging equipment. But yeah, look, I'm changing my way, changing my tune a little bit. So let me run you through this. Actually, before I do that, have a listen to this. For some reason, I didn't notice this before when we were sitting inside the car, but it has become really annoying. It's like this dashboard is squeaking as we go over bumps and stuff. So that is a little bit annoying in terms of a build quality point of view. In terms of how this system works, you have an internal combustion engine, a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder naturally aspirated petrol engine. Needs 95 RON, so premium unleaded fuel. It's then mated to an electric motor and a battery. And depending on which drive mode that you're in, it's going to try and use as much of the electric energy that it can before it has to switch on your internal combustion engine. And even when your electric energy is depleted and it says that it's empty there, it still has a reserve in it, and all plug-in hybrids do, that they can access to give you that explosive acceleration when you need it. Now, what does that all mean? So 141 kilowatts of power is what your internal combustion engine produces. But when it's combined with the electric motor, that cranks it out to 241 kilowatts of power and 500 newton meters of torque. So there's a really nice and healthy figure there to get you that acceleration that you need. Now, what does all that feel like behind the wheel? Let's give this a quick stab. Okay, so very nice once it's moving. Before then, you're dealing with Mazda's in-house 8-speed automatic transmission, which I find to be quite clunky and not very intuitive. It's just a bit slow and ungainly. And you can see there when I stab the throttle, we're waiting. Now I get acceleration. That is a long time between a throttle input and it happening. And even though it does have an electric motor, it is a little bit counterintuitive because the electric motor sits in line with the transmission. And you'll see what I mean here when I try and take off from a standing start. Yes, your internal combustion engine is switched off, but because the electric motor is in line with the transmission, it has to shift through gears under electric. So it's doing that right now. And that causes the sort of stunting in between those gear shifts. Your electric motor's providing constant torque, but every time it has to shift gears, it's sort of releasing it briefly. So it doesn't give you the most smooth experience known to man. And that is where systems like what you've got in the X-Trail e-Power, where you're basically running electric motors at the axles instead of directly driving wheels through the internal combustion engine, that is where you're going to get benefits of a much smoother drivetrain. So yeah, look, it's nice, but I just think it could be a little bit sharper. What we discovered when we tested the CX-80 recently was that once you're in sport mode, it actually drives really nicely because the gearbox is anticipating the need to do faster shifts and stuff. So we'll see what that's like once the speed picks up a little. Now let's talk about fuel economy. So I mentioned before, premium unleaded is what you need. Fuel economy claim is around 3 litres per 100 Ks, but we know that to be not the case with a plug-in hybrid, because you're either really going to be just using electricity or you're going to be using the internal combustion engine. So I ran this sort of today. The drive here was about 250 kilometres. And just based on that, I drained the battery and then was running internal combustion, and the average was sitting at just over 7 litres per 100 Ks, which is what you'd expect once you do end up draining that battery. It does have the ability to actually charge the battery again using this button here, so it'll run the internal combustion engine as a generator. So that is a handy feature to have, because it means that you're able to then top the battery up without needing to charge, which I think is a useful addition to have. So the ride sort of in and around town is actually quite good, despite sitting on 20-inch alloy wheels. It's really comfortable, and it's nowhere near as sort of crashy or bad as it was in the CX-60. So I think they've actually done a really good job fixing that. Let's see what it's like on our sine wave. We do this at 130, and it's basically a comparative measure for other cars, and 130 is the maximum speed limit in Australia. So we'll see what it's like. Yes, it's got a bit of a bounce about it, but it doesn't feel like it's out of control. There is still quite decent body control there, and you're going to experience stuff like that when you're overtaking in the country or something like that. So yeah, pretty impressed with that. Okay, bumpy road time. We do this at 90 Ks an hour. Gives us an idea of what the car is like on a terrible corrugated stretch of road like this. The car is softly sprung, but sort of slightly firmly damped, and that's not such a bad thing. It gives you a nice sort of roll through corners without sort of being unruly. And here at 90 Ks an hour on the condensed sine wave, really moving along really nicely. So quite impressed with that. Now, road noise. While you're sort of trundling along on a smooth surface, it's fine. But on course chip, I did notice a fair bit of droning inside the cabin. So the sound deadening could be a little bit better. This is how it went when we put it up against our calibrated sound meter. If you do want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before, look at the link in the description below. Now let's talk about visibility. So I can see clearly down the front there. Now the wing mirrors are really big, but just the mirrors don't offer really a great deal of viewing broadly down the side of the car. They're quite sort of narrow in terms of what they focus on, and it's the same on both sides. It'd be nice if they were just a little bit wider to give you better visibility. And out the back as well, if you do have the third row up, it is quite difficult to see out the back with those headrests. This is where a digital rear view mirror would actually come in handy for a vehicle like this. Now, towing. If you are going to be towing, you have a braked towing capacity of 2.5 tonnes, which is pretty reasonable for a plug-in hybrid. Now, let's pick the speed up a little bit. You've got drive modes here. You've got Sport, Normal, EV, and Off-Road. I'm going to pop it into Sport. I'm going to go for a faster lap around our track here to see how this car compares to others that we've driven before. Some nice sort of inducted sound there, which is good. We test all cars back to back in the same way just to see how they perform. Yeah, this actually feels really good, and I can feel torque going to that rear axle. This has an inherently rear-wheel drive biased platform, and they've created it as a rear-wheel drive vehicle first and added then the front axle into the equation, and that gives you a much sportier feel behind the wheel. The big benefit here of this plug-in hybrid system is that you constantly have the ability to supplement the internal combustion engine's torque with the electric assistance, which makes it really quite sporty to drive. The ride is a little bit soft, so it does sort of bounce around a little bit, but it's very easy to keep everything in check and to anticipate what the car's going to do. At no point do I feel like it's getting sort of unruly or out of control. The steering feels good too. So this definitely is a sportier vehicle for a 2.2 tonne car. It's moving along really nicely. Okay, time to test our lane support system. So we do this at 70 Ks an hour. See how well the car will hold itself within its lane. So there's 70. So the steering wheel has gone green, so we'll see what it's going to do here. It's hugging that left lane pretty tightly. Okay, all right, let's see how it goes on the next lane up. We use our 3 outer lanes here to see how well it performs. Okay, so that's locked in. Actually, there it goes again. It's like straddling the line and now telling me that it's about to go over it, and did go over it. Yeah, it's not very good at all. All right, we'll try the last lane as well. See how this performs. No, it's not going to activate up here. Yeah, look, I think that it just isn't really calibrated that well. The fact that it's doing it in the easiest lane here on the bowl kind of just tells you it probably needs a little bit more tuning work. Okay, time to do a little bit of performance testing. So, yeah, we're going to go from 0 to 120, so we can get our 80 to 120 overtaking time as well. And we'll see how it all goes. Oh, nice, it comes up with a little boost thing just there. Because we're at full throttle, there's 100 and 120. So 0 to 100, 7.12 seconds, which is fairly reasonable, and 80 to 120, 4.48 seconds. So really nice, strong mid-range there, which is good. So nice to see. Okay, time to stop from 100 to see what the tyre and brake package is like. Here we go. Oh, very nice and strong. Okie dokie, so 100 to 0, 3.07 seconds and 40.67 metres. So not a bad stopping distance there. Anything sort of between 35 and 40 is typically pretty good. If you do want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before in terms of noise or acceleration or braking, there is a link in the description below. All right, now, how quick does it go in reverse? Here we go. So 48 kilometres an hour. Okay, so Mazda CX-80, plug-in hybrid, Azami, top spec, what do we think? Look, I actually really like it, and I think I like it more because of the $5,000 package. What I don't love is the price, that it's like 100 grand on the road, so a lot of money. I also don't know that I'd necessarily go towards the plug-in hybrid. I think it's fine, but it's not really all that smooth, and unless you really want all of that punch constantly, I reckon you're better off going with the petrol. The petrol is probably the standout in the range for me. It's going to cost you less as well. So unless you're really chasing FBT exemption subsidy for plug-in hybrids, I reckon it's worth just going the petrol instead. So let me know in the comments section below, what do you reckon? Have you driven this? Have you bought one? Are you confused still by the Mazda range? Let me know in the comments section below. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your mates. Until next time, take it easy.